Hello, friends. Good afternoon, good morning, and then good evening for wherever you are watching me from. Okay, so I want to talk about something very important today. A lot of time my students has actually complained to me, hey, sometimes I seem to understand mathematics when you are teaching, but afterwards it seems I do not understand anything. And I've tried so many times to actually give them tips that will help them that when they study, they will understand. And so this is what I'm going to be sharing with you guys in this live. Of course, this is not going to be the end. Subsequently, we are also going to be talking about it. So it is important you just pay attention, grab your pen and your paper, and then jot out one or two things you're going to be learning from this live, so that once you practice it, you actually see that your performance in mathematics is actually going to increase. Okay, and of course, it is also something you can also share with your friends. Perhaps you'll have friends that are also having difficulties understanding or mathematics or comprehending whatever the teacher is or mentor is teaching them. So make sure you learn this and then uh, put to use, and you can also share with others. One other thing I want to say just before we go to the secrets I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. uh, as we proceed in the life, if you also have some questions or some experiences you want to share, you can also drop that, or maybe any question you want to ask, you can also drop that in the comment section. So without much ado, let us delve into this. And of course, if you've not subscribed to our channel, do want to subscribe. And then I also have a membership a group, a membership platform where you can also pay a token and join. You're actually going to be getting value when you join my membership class. Okay, so the topic is uh, two math genius. How do you go about it? Mathematics is something that gives a lot of person challenges today. And sometimes you meet people that say, hey, math is not my thing. And because maybe they find it difficult to understand, they will always have this kind of mindset that they cannot understand mathematics. But is that really the truth? Because I used to tell some of my friends that if someone can actually understand this, or if someone can still be in the same shoe you are, and the stuff will be taught and the person understands it and is able to also replicate it or teach someone else, then it's a possibility that you can actually understand. The problem could just be that maybe there are one or two things, there are some things you may not be doing fine, or there are some things you need to start doing which you are not doing. And those are some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you guys in this live. So you need to understand that for you to do well in mathematics, you must have a growth mentality. Very important. And it's actually going to help you to deal with the math phobia. Because I've met a lot of students where when you are done teaching them, or even sometimes when it comes to teach them, they will be scared, they will fear. And that is why even sometimes if you go to the description of my channel, I actually mentioned that mathematics should be enjoyed rather than being feared. But the contrary is actually the case, what we are seeing today. Okay, so it is high time we actually begin to share some of these secrets that will help everyone to be able to start doing well in mathematics. Our brain are not made of a straw. It is actually made of gray. And so the more you try to understand, the more you think about a particular concept, the more your brain wraps itself around it and then try to make sense out of it. Okay, so the growth mindset that we are talking about actually means the ability for you to improve in your performance, and also for you to improve, and also for you to actually start doing very well. And then when you have a growth mentality, or you have a growth mindset, it's actually going to change your mindset from having a phobia in mathematics to actually seeing that challenge as an opportunity for you to learn. Because in life you have so many challenges, and so mathematics is not is not an exception. And so it's possible you find it difficult to understand, but you need to see those difficulties, those challenges as an opportunity for you to learn. Okay, so the first secret I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is consistent practice. This cannot be overemphasized. If you actually want to start doing well in mathematics, you must have to consistently. Someone actually said some time ago that when you leave mathematics for one day, it leaves you for 1 week. And so you can imagine the gap. And that is just from his own point of view. And so it really matters so well that you regularly engage yourself in problem solving. That is why most times when I teach, I give out assignments so that my students can actually go and practice what I have actually taught them. That is when they can actually know whether they have understood it or not. So why is it important for you to consistently practice? Math skill develop with regular problem solving. That is actually how mathematics skills develop. Let me just show you guys something. 1 minute. Now, most mathematics textbook, you actually see that they have an exercise session at the end of each topic. Those exercise session is actually there to help you to be able to test your knowledge of whatever you have learned. And so it is expected that whenever you are done studying any particular topic and you want to find out whether you've understood it, you have to go through the exercises. But it's unfortunate that most students will not want to do that. So the key is you need to consistently study. Take for instance, if you are done studying something like integral, which is actually a calculus topic, okay, you will have to go through the exercises, and students that spend time on solving the exercises on the textbook actually do better than other students. So this is very important. You have to set aside daily or weekly time for practice, and you also need to work on varieties of problems, solve the ones that you seem as simple, and then those ones you feel that are more challenging. Make sure you delve into it. And of course, if you have a challenge, you can always run to your mentor or your teacher, and the person will be glad to give you some assistance. So the first secret I'm sharing with you guys today on going from a math struggler to a math genius is consistent practice. One of my lecturers rather, in those days actually told us something that his dad actually used to subject them to solving all the exercises in the textbook. And so what the father often do is that before he goes out any day, he tell them, okay, young man, you see so and so exercises, before I come back, make sure you must have finished solving all of them. And so sometimes they will have to play over it and they will not. But when the dad comes back, he's actually going to force them to solve those things. And the man today, as we speak, is actually a PhD holder in mathematics and he's doing perfectly fine. This is because he was subjected to consistently practicing math problems. And so that is how you develop your math skills. It doesn't matter how well you know or maybe how difficult you are finding math problem. Just start studying, start practicing. It's actually going to uh, develop your math skills, and that is how you keep getting better and better at it. So the second secret I want to share with you guys today is building strong foundation. Building strong foundation is very important. Math is not all about memorizing formulas or focusing or just memorizing some theorems. The most important thing is you trying to understand why those formula work. You know, of course, you can tell, you may know that the area of a triangle is half base times height. Perfect. Or you can also know the particular theorem. Even stating it mathematically, you can know them very well. But if you actually want to build your you want to build strong foundation in mathematics, you must have to ask yourself, why is this formula working? What is actually the reason behind it? And you cannot imagine a lot of things that you can actually come, you can, your mind can actually think of when you begin to ask, why does this thing work? Because of course, someone actually say that if you know how, you can actually get a job, but if you know why, you can be the boss. And so knowing why most times is more important than knowing how. It is good you know how to solve all of those things, but then find a way to find out why those things work. Because if you really know why they work, you may not even need to cram. Because at every point in time, because you've understood the principle behind it, it's actually going to help you. And so from today henceforth, as you make efforts to understand any mathematical concept, find out why is this formula working, what goes wrong if some parameters change. And those are the things that are actually going to open your insight broader to understand mathematics, and for you to even appreciate it the more. For instance, when studying about algebra, okay, so if you are studying about algebra for some, especially for some persons that are doing higher mathematics, when you are studying algebra, you don't just delve into solving all of those equations using all those rules. You must have to understand. You must have to find a way to understand why those formulas work. So it is in line with what I've been saying. Find out why those formulas work, and if you can also go through the proof. But I understand that some level, you may be at some level which those proof may not really be important, but then you can ask your teacher or your mentor or your lecturer, why is this thing working this way? Why is this not like this? Why is it like this? And he will actually make it clear to you, and that is a good way to begin to build your skill in mathematics. You never can tell how much it is helping you to understand, and then for you to begin to appreciate. And in no distance time, you see some of those challenging questions becoming very simple for you to solve. So I've shared two secrets with you guys. One is that you should practice consistently. That is consistent practice. And then the second one is that you should build strong mathematical foundation. Building strong foundation, very important. And then the third secret I want to share with you guys today is learning from your mistakes. A lot of times, so many persons used to get discouraged if they attempt solving problems and they are not able to solve it. Or maybe when they are done solving it and they go to the answer section of the textbook and they find out that they got it wrong. So many persons often get discouraged, but that's not really not the time to get discouraged. It is actually a time for you to reflect and then ask yourself, why did I fail this? Why did I get stuck at this point? What is my mistake? You can go through the steps again, and even when you've seen the solution to your problem, you can also go through the solution and then go through what you have done. Or when you ask question and you get your mentor to provide an answer to that, it's a time for you to go through the answer being provided by your mentor or your teacher, and then you go through what you have done. That is actually going to help you to find out where you've made a mistake. And so whenever you solve a math problem and you get it wrong, you shouldn't get discouraged. It is a time for you to learn from your mistakes. And even in life, there are so many mistakes we make and we don't get discouraged. What we do is we find a way to learn from those mistakes so that it will not occur again. So this is very important. You must have to practice it very well, because it's actually going to help you to improve. And even when you are teaching your children or you are teaching your words, you need to also make them to understand that failing a particular question does not mean that you are not good at it. It is an opportunity for you to grow. It's an opportunity for you to learn a better way of doing things. Okay, so that is the third one. And then the fourth one I want to talk about is you staying curious. This one is very much important. You need to stay curious. You know, sometimes we just get stuck with the conventional way of doing things, and so some persons will just want you to tell them the formula for solving any particular math problem. Okay, a quadratic equation, what's the formula? And just like I've said, they will not bother to actually understand why those formulas work. And so being curious in this case is for you to actually check out more possible opportunities. Yes, your teacher must have solved the area of a triangle with half base times height, and maybe he used base to be equal to 2, and then he used height to be equal to 5. Being curious will tell you, okay, this thing actually works for 2 and 5. What if I change the parameters? Is it also going to work? Of course, when you're able to start thinking this way, you are being curious. You want to change parameters to see what also happens. When uh, the area becomes 5, maybe because you use a certain parameters for the base and the height. What if you change those parameters for base and height? What does that tell you? When you begin to consider of these possibilities, it will help you to appreciate these things. And then you can actually find out the relationship between base, height, and even the area. Because once all of those parameters are being changed, the value of the unknown is changing. And so this is actually what you get. But if you just get stuck with, okay, my mentor has solved it this way, and that is how it be, you may not actually see the other side of it. Very important. You need to you need to stay curious. Stay curious. Okay. So for some persons who are actually doing a more advanced math course, one other thing you can actually do is for you to explore the applications of all of these mathematics. Yeah, that you do. Some of those mathematical theorems and concepts that you talk about, you want to ask yourself, where and where can I apply these? And then you discover that by the time you start looking for where you can apply it, it will make more sense to you. And so don't forget, I've actually talked about 4 secrets which will actually help you to go from being a mass struggler to a mass genius. The first one I talked about is for you to consistently practice. That is to practice consistently. The second one is for you to build strong math foundation. And then the third one is for you to learn from your mistakes. And the fourth one is for you to stay curious. Then I'm going to talk about the fifth one, which is very important. The fifth one is actually for you to reflect on the process. Now, self assessment is also very important, which is like a reflection of the process. Now you are done solving a particular math problem, and then you want to assess yourself. Okay, after solving a particular math problem, you need to think of all of the approaches that were used to arrive at the answer. And then when you now begin to assess yourself, that is when you now begin to implement, okay, have I actually learned this thing? Which actually goes in line with you also solving those exercises I've talked about and the assignments that is often given to you. And so you need to assess yourself by solving all of those exercises. And by solving it, you will now know whether you've actually understood what was taught or not. And in case you did not understand it, it's it's actually going to position you to find out why. Because of course, when you begin to solve, and then you find out at some point you cannot solve a particular problem, you may not wait for your teacher to come next time before. In fact, you just raise up your hand and immediately begin to ask questions, and that will position you to learn better. And so while others are busy struggling to understand A, you've gone from A to B. So these are the importance of you assessing yourself. Reflection. Ponder on what you have learned. Have I actually learned this? If I should be given any particular question, can I be able to solve it? This will actually help you. Okay. Then the sixth one is for you to involve yourself in collaborative learning. This one is also very important. You need to involve yourself in collaborative learning, because when you okay, so this one is saying which language you speak. Of course, I'm speaking English. I hope you can hear me, Homan. Yeah, I hope you can hear English. Okay, and I guess there should be a translator there. Okay, fine. So, like I was saying, you need to involve yourself in collaborative learning. This is very important. Sometimes you need to actually organize some group discussion or involve yourself in class discussion. That is when you actually get to know whether you've learned what was taught. And sometimes you may not even learn, but there will be a colleague of yours which must have learned. And so it is when you involve yourself in collaborative learning that another person will see another opportunity, or the person may even explain it better than how your teacher must have. Because sometimes when a student explains to a fellow student, the message is better absorbed. Right? Yeah, so it's really important you involve yourself in class discussions, to discuss with your peers. Okay, this topic that was taught so day, how did you understand it? You need to also join forums that discuss about math related problems. And so if you have any problem, you go over there and then you drop it there. And then when others have a problem, you also want to contribute to solving those issues. That is how you learn. That is really very important. And so collaborative learning cannot be overemphasized. And then, of course, if you can also go to some online platforms where you can join forums that discuss about math related stuff. You can also join them. You can see some persons that are dropping questions over there. You can look at those things and then learn from them. Do not shy away about asking anybody a question, even if it's your classmate or your peer pressure or your age mate, or even someone that is maybe someone you are older than. Do not shy away from doing that, because anything you do not know, you are ignorant of that, and forever you will not know it until someone tells you. And so, but once you learn it, you are no longer ignorant, and you may even forget how you got to learn that. And so it's very important that you be teachable, open your mind to learn from anyone, involve yourself in group discussion, and that is actually going to help you to also appreciate or understand better whatever uh, you are going to be learning. Okay, now the next thing I want to talk about is you also need to use diverse problem solving strategies. This is very important. So you need to use diverse problem solving strategies. And, most math problems have so many methods of solving it. So if we talk about the simultaneous equation, you can see there are so many methods of solving it. If you talk about quadratic equation, there are so many methods. So that is why sometimes when you go through my channel, I seem to solve some problems with entirely different method. And so that is why most times I will tell you, okay, pause the video and solve. And after you are done solving, you can come and watch and see if I've used a method you've not known before. And if I've used a method you've not known before, you are going to learn something new that very day. And so you need to use diverse problem solving strategy. Don't just focus on, well, here I've learned this. There are some method or strategies that can be easier for you than others, and so you need to learn as much as you can so that you're able to find out what works for you. Okay, now the next one I want to talk about is teaching and explaining. This one is superb. In fact, this is one trick in life that you don't just need to apply to learning mathematics. You need to apply it in all areas of your life. The more you teach something, or the more you help another person to understand any particular concept, the better you are learning that particular thing. Okay, so you need to share your knowledge by teaching others. And so whenever you see someone else that is in difficult that are stuck at one point, and it is something that you already know or you have an idea of, render an assistance, start explaining to that person, and you cannot imagine how more you will learn even in the process of explaining. Yeah, most times teachers get more than students, and so because the more you teach, the more you also learn. And even Christians, uh, we know that principle is a biblical principle which actually says that it is more blessed to give than to receive. And so it applies everywhere. So the more you teach, the more you learn. And even when you are teaching and you think, you are giving out yourself, you are gaining a whole lot of things which you do not have an idea about. And so, very important, engage yourself in teaching and explaining to others. That will reinforce what you know. And it is actually going to even challenge you, because in the process of explaining, you now find out that is when you now truly know whether you understood that concept. And if you've not understood it, it will be another opportunity for you to carefully look at it, and that will also benefit you deeply. Okay, so the next one is for you to keep a journal, keep a maths journal, or I would say make sure you have a good note for mathematics. Sometimes some students wouldn't want to copy notes because they think they don't like mathematics. Oh, you are doing yourself more harm than good. And so what will help you is if you have a good note, because when you have a good note, when you forget any particular thing that you've been taught, it is just as good as going to your notes and then flipping through and seeing how it was solved in the class, on how your teacher must have taught you that. And so it is important that you have a good note, keep a maths journal. When you discover any new skill or any new strategy of solving any particular problem, make sure you write it down, because sometimes your mind can be so busy with a lot of things, or it can also there are some information that may come that will even overlap the one that is already there. So you have some tendency to even forget the math, how to solve math problems you've already learned how to solve. And so the best way for you to always remember is for you to keep a good math journal, or to write, have a good math note. Whenever you learn any new thing, go and specifically write it. That time that is still fresh in your brain, write it, even all the methods you've used to solve that particular math problem. Pen it down, write it, so that at any point you want to teach anybody or you must have forgotten, go back to your notes and then refresh your mind. That is also another way that will help you, so that you do not just forget. This is something that I hear so often. I learned it when you were teaching it, but when you left, I could not remember it. And then when you ask that person, have you read your note today? And the answer will be no. Have you read your notes for the past 1 week? The answer will be no. So how would you not forget when there are millions and thousands of information going over to your brain, being fed to your brain every now and then? Why wouldn't you forget the ones that you are not revising? And so a good way for you to always remember the maths you've done is for you to have a good maths note. And that would also help you. So is all of these things we've been talking about, when you practice it, your performance or your knowledge of mathematics is actually gonna increase. And I'm going to tell you something maybe towards the end of this life. So you really understand that this is not just about you going to the class and learning how to solve 1 plus 1 or 2 plus 2. There is more to it. There is, and of course, I will talk about that. So just a quick review before I proceed. I've talked about so many secrets here. And so the first one I talked about was for you to practice consistently. Practice consistently. And then the second one is for you to build a strong foundation, have a strong foundation. And then the third one is for you to learn from your mistakes. And the fourth one is for you to stay curious. Stay curious. And then the fifth one is for you to reflect on your process. So self-assessment kind of a thing. So you need to reflect on all of the processes that we use to solve mat- particular math problem. So you have to reflect on it and self examine yourself, assess yourself to see whether you actually understood that. And then the sixth one is for you to engage in collaborative learning, group discussions, discussing with your peers and your mates, joining forums that talks about maths related issues, or group that exposes you to various viewpoints on any particular concept. Join those kind of group and engage with them. That is also going to improve your performance, and it will also increase your even the way you understand those concepts. And then the seventh one is for you to engage or use diverse problem solving strategies. And so you need to learn as much examples, as much methods as possible. And some of the ways you can actually learn that is you going over to YouTube or Facebook and then searching all of those math problems or topics. You will see a lot of methods that is far different from the one you know. And then you may come in contact with a method that is a lot easier than the one you already know. So you need to also explore those strategies. And then the eighth one is for you to also engage in teaching and explaining to others. I shared a wonderful biblical principle with you, which basically said that it is more blessed to give than to receive. And so, the more you try to impart in others, the more you try to understand, explain to them what you feel you've understood, it is also reinforcing your understanding of that particular concept. Okay, and then the ninth one is for you to keep a math journal, or you have to keep a good math note. Always write the problems you've learned how to solve and the way you solve this in a good place, in a note, so that at any point you forget it, you can always fall back to your note. The tenth one, the tenth secret I'm sharing with you guys today is for you to uh, start taking on challenges. Okay, this is very important. If you hear of any math competition, if you hear of any puzzle, or if you hear of any advanced textbook, get it and see if you can be able to uh, solve those problems. Competitions, go for it. And by the time you are preparing for those competitions, and by the time you go and are asking things you've not heard before, it will also help you to be better at what you do. And then engage in puzzle difficult things when your class members or when your mates are complaining how this is so difficult. Spend your time to find out how to solve that kind of problem is actually going to help you, because it will help you to actually be on top. Because when others are crying, when others are saying, "Hi, I don't know how to solve it," you must have spend your time trying to solve that problem. And by the time you solve it, you now start a better chance of teaching others. And by the time you are teaching others, you are getting to know more about it. Okay, so take up challenges. You need to challenge yourself, find a way to move away from your comfort zone. One plus one every time equal to two. I know some of my students that sometimes when you want to take them through maybe a new topic which they think is difficult, they seem not to not they seem to be uninterested, because they just wanted to keep teaching them what they had already know. And they will not remember that by the time they learned that, it was still difficult for them to learn. And so challenging yourself actually helps you to build resilience in solving or in facing complex problems, even in your life. We are just so busy, we are just so comfortable with doing the normal thing, the status quo, without you challenging yourself with the real things. When the real issues of life comes, you'll be overwhelmed by them. But if you are used to challenging yourself, uh, going for things that um, will make you uncomfortable, when issues of life comes, you must have built the resilience to be able to face it. So that is very important. Take up challenges, and then it will also help you to improve. Okay, so the 11th one, which I'm sharing with you guys today, is I'm going to be sharing 12 with you guys. So the 11th one is for you to utilize technology and resources. I've already mentioned some of it when I was talking in other points. Uh, this is actually telling you that whatever means you can use to be able to understand better, utilize it. Some of you spend more time on your phone watching comedies or watching other movies that does not add value to your life. Instead of wasting those time, why not use it to find solution to your math challenges or to your math problems? Because like I've mentioned before now, when you go over to YouTube, when you go over to Google, you're actually going to be seeing materials that will explain that math concept you feel is so difficult. When you check out videos on YouTube, you see that there are numerous methods to even solve that math problem which you are finding difficult. And so why not just go ahead and then use your smartphone, use the technology in your hand to find a way to help yourself, because those things will help you to increase your understanding of those math problems. Okay, and then finally, I am going to be talking about you finding a mentor to also help you. Some persons would prefer to hire to maybe contract a teacher that will help them to understand. Some of you are already having teachers in your various schools. These are really important. Whenever you run into trouble, let them know. Sometimes you may also have your friends who seem to understand easier than you. Make use of them. Ask them, guy, how do you understand this? How did they do this in a class? Or how would I solve this problem? They will also be of help to you. So don't just get discouraged maybe because you find it difficult to understand the math problems, or to understand or even to solve the math problems. Don't just get discouraged. Apply all of these secrets I've shown you, and you will see that your performance is actually going to increase. We are going to be talking about stuff like this in our subsequent lives. And so, well, I'm also going to be putting on the announcement on this regarding the life, maybe before we have it, so that you can actually get ready. Come with your problems, come with your challenges. If you have anything disturbing, maybe any topic you seem not to understand, you can bring it here. We can talk about it, and we can share ideas on how you can actually use to be able to solve this kind of issue, and the approaches that will help you to be able to do well in them. Okay, so this live is already 38 minutes. So let me just recap the points I've raised earlier on. And then it's also important for you to know that none of these method or strategies or secrets is exhaustive in and of itself. What you just need to do is to use as much as you can. So you collaborate, you utilize technology and resources, you use as much as you can to be able to help yourself. So when you apply all of these strategies, you will actually see that your math performance is going to increase. There is nothing magical about mathematics. It is just a brain thing, and it is actually going to make you to reason critically. It will help you to be able to solve problems. And so, knowing mathematics or struggling or putting in energies to be able to do well or to solve a particular math problem actually goes beyond the classroom thing. It has a way of helping you and to solve even real life problems, because it will help you to develop that critical thinking mentality and that critical thinking skill, problem solving skills that will help you to solve challenges, even life related challenges in your finance, in your relationship, and areas of your life which will demand your attention to be able to get things done over there. So putting efforts to increase your knowledge of mathematics or to solve some of those complex things does not actually go in vain. It also has a way of impacting positively every other aspect of your life. Okay, so let me go over this and then we are going to be wrapping it up for this part one for this session. So the first thing I talked about is for you to practice consistently. Okay. So the second thing is for you to strong build strong mass foundation. And then the third one is for you to learn from your mistakes. The fourth one is for you to stay curious. Number five is for you to reflect on the process, right? And then the miscount. Okay. So the sixth one, number six is for you to engage in collaborative learning. And then the seventh one is for you to utilize different problem solving skills or strategies. And then the eighth one is for you to teach, engage in teaching and explaining to others. The ninth one is for you to keep a math journal or a notebook. The tenth one is for you to take on challenges. The 11th one is for you to utilize technology and resources. And then finally, the 12th one is for you to find a mentor. So all of these put together will actually help you. And then when you consistently do it, you will see that you are going to go from being a math struggler to a genius, and you will be useful to others, even in teaching them how to solve different math related problems. So that is where we're going to be wrapping it up in this edition. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you have any question, do drop in the comment box. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and then I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Bye.